The first 9 months of 2014 reflects nearly 13,000 attacks, which killed 31,000 people. When the final accounting is done, 2014 will have been the most lethal year for global terrorism in the 45 years such data has been compiled. In my 50-plus years in the intelligence business, I don't know of a time that has been more beset by challenges and crises around the world. I worry a lot about the safety and security of this country.
We are actually living in a period of less daily threat to Americans and to people in the world than normally, less deaths, less violent deaths today than through the last century.
2 Obama administration officials up on Capitol Hill, 2 consecutive days, 2 very different messages about the same topic, terrorism. Former Director of National Intelligence, Defense Intelligence Agency Director, General Michael Flynn, said this about Kerry's statement, quote, "I think Secretary Kerry is out of touch with reality. He clearly is not listening to the entire U.S. intelligence community. He's not reading any of the intelligence or other things that have been written over the last few weeks, months, years." So with that, let's bring in our panel. Jason Riley, columnist with the Wall Street Journal. Ron Fournier, senior political columnist of National Journal, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Jason, what do we think?
Well, Secretary Kerry is not only not reading the intelligence, he's not reading the newspapers. The Wall Street Journal had a story today explaining that ISIS's appeal in the West has grown dramatically in recent months. It says Islamic State's ability to lure thousands of Westerners is unprecedented in modern history, and maybe its scariest success. I mean, you look at what's going on with Boko Haram killing with impunity. You look at how we've gone backwards in Iraq, backwards in Libya. If this, we have 2 stories of young people running away to join ISIS just this week, and it's only Thursday, Brett. I mean, if this is the administration's idea of a safer world, I'd hate to see what its idea of a more dangerous world looks like.
What is this? What is this different messaging?
It's a lack of clarity, a lack of discipline, probably too much hand-wringing over politics. And what worries me is I think we're going to get hit. ISIS is going to hit us, or somebody who's motivated by ISIS is going to hit us, and we're going to need the President of the United States to unite us. And the problem is the semantic gymnastics, this lack of clarity, the dithering that we had at the very least, in the beginning of the ISIS onslaught, is going to make it hard for the President of the United States to unite more than his base. Now, it's not helped that we have some Republicans going so far as to question his patriotism, which I think is wrong. But he owns us. He's the commander-in-chief, and he's got to speak with clarity, he's got to speak with force, and he's got to speak with a consistent and tough plan to do what he promised he would do, which is eradicate ISIS.
I want to play another soundbite from Clapper today. The FBI director, Jim Comey, said that there are investigations in all 50 states about radicalizations and the different stages of people being radicalized. This is Clapper talking about Americans trying to travel over to ISIS.
About 180 Americans or so had been involved in various stages of travel to Syria. I should point out this is those who've attempted to go, didn't get there, those who got there and were killed, those who got there, fought and went to another country, and some number have come back. A relatively small number have returned, and we've not identified any of them engaged in attack plotting.
180, though.
Look, if you want to explain why you get these 2 stories, you would normally say, and I think that the simpler explanation is that you're either spinning or you're not. Clapper has to say what's happening. He sees all the intelligence. He knows the numbers. And as Jason was saying, what is unprecedented here is we have ISIS, a terror group that is unprecedented in not only in its attractiveness to Western radicals, but controls more territory, controls more finances and the funds than any, and weaponry, than any in the history of the world. That's a serious issue. So you would like to say that Kerry and Obama are pretending it's otherwise as a way to spin it and to reduce the anxiety and to explain away the inaction and the failure of this administration to address the problem seriously. But I think it's worse. I don't actually think the president is spinning it. I think he truly believes that this is a tranquil era, that we are overhyping, putting emphasis on terrorism, which is out of proportion, that in the end, compared to the strategic threats of Nazism or communism, it's a minor issue. I think he thinks that, and thus I think he is internally placid about all this, where Americans are not only agitated and upset, but actually angered by the way Americans and others, Christians and others, are treated abroad. So I think we really have a president who believes this stuff, and it's not spin, and that, I think, is worse.
Josh Earnest was pressed about this in the White House briefing room today about the different messages from Clapper and from Kerry.
How could Secretary Kerry make the claim to the American people, to the world, that we're safer than we were before?
Well, I think he could do so with the evidence on his side. What he was able to demonstrate, and I think what he was discussing, is the success that our military campaign has had in applying significant pressure to the ISIS leadership. That pressure has been applied, and that has reduced the ability of ISIL to expand their reign of terror. That said, ISIL continues to be very dangerous.
Jason, what was said there? And if you put Clapper's soundbite about 50 years in the intelligence business, I don't know of a time that is more beset by challenges and crises. I worry about the safety and security of this country.
It's spin in messaging, and it's coming from a president who is fundamentally uncomfortable with being the leader of the free world. This is a president who thinks America is the greatest threat to world stability. And I think our allies and our enemies have picked up on this. They see weakness, or they're concerned. Assad sees weakness. Putin sees weakness. Netanyahu is concerned, so concerned that he's coming to this country because he feels that we're going to cut a deal with Iran that is going to jeopardize the very existence of Israel, an ally of ours. That's how concerned he is. And this all starts with the White House and what it is projecting, which is uncertainty.
You know, Charles just put it in stark relief for me. The president is either spinning and looking weak, which is what I was guessing, or he's not spinning and he is weak. That's a devil's choice. I mean, I'd like to think he's just spinning and looking weak, but even if that's the case, we're in a world of hurt. If Charles is right, I hate to think what the consequences are.
A lot of people, criticize, talk about the semantics, what they say, whether they're using these words. We should be talking about what they should do, but how they say it and what they're saying does matter.
Sure.
It does, and when Obama says Islamic State is not Islamic, I think he believes it. What's interesting is that he's got a Kerry and an Earnest and others in the administration who I think are not true believers, because I think it's delusional what the president is thinking. And if you hear them, what you're hearing is spin, because it's hard to believe. But the president is the one who has this idea that everything's okay, that there's a perversion of Islam, it's not really a threat, it's low level, and as he said in the interview, he said this is hyped in the media, if it bleeds, it leads. He believes it, the others have to spin it, otherwise how do you defend the president?
It was on the Vox.com interview a couple weeks ago. Next up, more problems for Hillary Clinton over her family's charitable foundation. We'll look into that.